Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you again. Thanks for popping by. This week we're gonna actually take a look at one of my favorite passages of scripture. It's actually also somewhat connected to the story of Noah. And this is the one about Abraham and his wife Sarah. More specifically, it's the one when they're giving birth to their son, Isaac. And there's actually a lot to learn from this. We'll see how that comes into play here in a bit. And first of all, here's the setting. They're very old. Way older than, normal parents. Up somewhere around 80, plus, 90 to 100 even. Yeah, it's old, very old, yeah. And nothing happens. The years go by and no one's getting pregnant here. So what's going on? And then they do what most of us do. We don't have the patience, so they kind of took their matters into their own hands. They kind of, let's help out. Let's help God here, It's like we don't really trust that he's going to pull this off. Big mistake. Big mistake. Because that's where Ishmael comes into play. You know the story? They got another lady involved and so, big mistake. And you could say, this is where they got into doing their own works. They tried to make the promises of God come true by actually doing something, on their own effort and their own works, their own ideas. And later on, however, finally, and this is where it connects with Noah, they acted upon the promises of God. The miracle son was born. And because they didn't give up, they kind of got back on track. And that's the good news in this story, really. So there's 3 things I'd like to sum up how it could relate to us. We definitely a lot of times need to practice our patience. We need to learn to trust and wait upon the Lord's timing in our lives, in what we need to do and what he's told us. The second thing is that we actually also do need to trust what God's spoken. And we need to trust that he will carry it out. We don't need to be too worried about it. And the third thing, now if we do it all wrong, like Abraham and Sarah did, sure, there are consequences. Don't ever let anybody tell you different. We know, Ishmael was a pain in the butt for, till this day probably, and there will be consequences when we step outside what we should do. But God never gives up on us. We can get back on track and keep on moving and learn to deal with the consequences. And that's all for me today. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll, God willing, see you next week again. And welcome back.